as you're likely aware, a lot of Canadians simply refuse to travel to the United States right now. And some Canadians simply have no choice but to go. Even if you want to go, we have been hearing horror stories and concerns about traveling to the United States. One immigration lawyer tells CBC News, quote, "There's been much more heightened security and heightened investigations at the border. There is just tremendous fear. Canadians can be detained, they can have their phones searched, and even if you're a dual citizen, you could still experience the effect of President Trump's policies." Well, Regina resident John G. Hampton knows this experience well. They are a dual citizen. They have been traveling to the United States multiple times for work and personal reasons. John is the executive director and CEO of the Mackenzie Art Gallery, and they join us live right now. Good afternoon, John.
Hi, Peter. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. So let's start with the dual citizenship. Like, what do you have to deal with in terms of, having your passports up to date? I mean, having just a Canadian one's complicated enough. What did you have to do with the American one?
Well, the American one, both of them came up for renewal this year, and so I tried to renew my American one a little early. I knew that might be complications with the incoming administration because I do have a X for gender on all of my ID. And so I sent that in nice and early, but fortunately, it's apparently not early enough because it got held on to for quite a while. So there was a brief period of time where there was I was phoning the passport office and I asked them if they knew if they could probably tell me that my passport was coming, and I said, this might sound ridiculous. I just want to make sure it's not being held indefinitely. And they couldn't promise me that, but they said if I paid for the expedition, that was expedited processing, that was my best chance at getting it back. So I did that, and I got it back. I got a little letter with it saying that my gender marker had been changed from the X to the M. But I did get it back, and that gives me a little bit of security as I'm traveling that border.
Well, yeah, John, that's before you even get your passport and go travel. How were you feeling, about taking that first trip to the U.S. in February when everything was really kind of ramping up?
Mixed feelings about that, of course. There's a lot of fear around that border, and I think that it's totally justifiable for people to feel that. And I was traveling for exhibition for the Mackenzie Art Gallery, and so we had several curators and artists that were traveling as well, and so they were seeking out advice on that too. And so I felt a little bit more responsibility towards the others who were traveling and just making sure we dotted our I's as much as we could on that. We did all have perfectly smooth experiences going across the border. There is a degree of, we're hearing the worst stories that are happening, but there is still quite a bit of travel going across that border. So there is a relative safety that's still that there's still there. And going through TSA, I still saw their pledge for anti-discrimination based off of gender, race, sexuality. So there's still some safety and protection there. I guess what it seems to be the case is that as in those rare instances where you do get that secondary screening or where you get that increased scrutiny, that the outcomes that you could face with those have just radically changed. So it's still a relatively rare experience, but it's just what the consequences would be are changing.
John, you have a really interesting perspective on this when it comes to the arts community as well. You just got back from co-chairing the Canadian Arts Summit in Ottawa. What were some of the big concerns and maybe revelations that you took away from that on how it relates to I mean, maybe it's traveling to the U.S., doing, exhibitions in the United States, or just national identity and sovereignty. What has artists been talking about when it comes to this?
So the Canadian Arts Summit's the gathering of about 170 of our arts institutions across Canada. So it's the largest institutes gathering with people from the business community. It's about looking at the arts and culture sector challenges that we're facing. So this year's summit was one of the most lively in a long time, and that's there was a lot of trepidation going into the gathering, thinking about the comments that are threatening Canadian sovereignty, about the difficulties with the border, about the economic uncertainty being faced. But really, we everybody sort of was galvanized around the role that the arts can play in helping rise to that challenge, because really it's one of the only sectors that faces that can address those two most pressing challenges, which is the economic conditions, because arts and culture, according to Stats Canada, it's a $73 billion industry in Canada. That's the GDP numbers. It's right up there with oil and gas extractions at 71 billion. And so it's one of our biggest industries. And so as an economic driver there, but also more pressingly as a driver for our sense of Canadian identity, for our sense of sovereignty, and rallying around that role that we can play. Because culture, the arts, those are where we come together to have those dialogues about what we are. It is what defines a nation, a community. It is the set of understandings that help us understand how we relate to each other, who we are, and how we relate to other people. So that's something that really helps drive our purpose. And so when we are facing these threats against our sovereignty from our largest partner, and also from a partner from which we share a lot of cultural similarities. Before these threats, there's maybe a little bit of interest or willingness for Canadians to maybe to consume American media and culture, and maybe less of a distinguishing factor of this of being maybe not having that pride in what we're producing, who we are as Canadians. But then this really helped galvanize that need for us to be producing our own culture, to be telling our own stories. And it's really, I think we're well placed for that, for this rise in interest in Canadian identity and sovereignty. We've come through 7 years of Truth and Reconciliation, where we've really been facing that truth phase, where we've been doing that difficult work of looking at who we are as Canadians, of that true story and all of its, not only the parts that we're proud of, but the parts that are difficult. And doing that internal work of looking at who you are really helps you actualize not only as people individually, but also as a nation. I think it positions us well to really tell a story and champion a future of Canada that we can all be proud of.
Absolutely. And a discussion we will have to continue to have. John, thank you so much. And I think we'll be talking again in May for your next exhibit. We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.